scarecrows, but still a stronger force than the British had. British troops escaping from Montreal, which had been captured, came into the citadel, and that made the garrison too strong for Arnold to take.
That was the point at which the fate of modern Canada was settled. If the Americans had captured Quebec, it's most unlikely they would ever have been dislodged.
Arnold bided his time. The second prong, now under Montgomery, reached Quebec 3 weeks later. The two commanders decided to wait for a blizzard and launch a sneak attack on the fortress city at night. They got their chance on New Year's Eve, 1775. Arnold would come from the north. Montgomery would approach from the south, around the precipice of Cape Diamond, where massive chunks of ice would cause his men to proceed in single file. Montgomery led the way.
Men of New York, you will not fear to follow where your general leads. Come on, my brave boys, and Quebec is ours. General Richard Montgomery.
A cannon, firing small lead balls called grape shot, ripped the darkness. Montgomery, two of his captains, a sergeant and a private, were killed on the spot. Confused and discouraged, his troops retreated. Arnold and his force of 600 passed through the Palace Gate into the winding streets of Quebec's lower town. They were surrounded by British musket fire. Arnold was hit. A musket ball lodged in his left leg.
The loss of blood rendered me very weak. As soon as the main body came up, I returned to the hospital. Near a mile, on foot, being obliged to draw one leg after me, and a great part of the way under the constant fire of the enemy. Benedict Arnold.
The command of the American forces now fell to Daniel Morgan. Through daring and fierce fighting, he took hundreds of prisoners. But after 3 hours of fighting, Morgan was still unaware of Montgomery's death. Finally, without Montgomery's troops, Morgan was forced to surrender. The battle for Quebec was over. From a hospital bed on the outskirts of the walled city, a dogged Benedict Arnold lay with pistols loaded and sword at his side.
I have no thought of leaving this proud town until I first enter it in triumph. I am in the way of my duty and know no fear. Benedict Arnold.
We came that close, the Americans came that close to making Canada the 14th colony. And if they had, it would have been Arnold's doing.
Upon his return to Philadelphia from England in May of 1775, Benjamin Franklin found the signs of war all about him. He devoted himself to the work of the Patriot cause.
Benjamin Franklin was a very unlikely revolutionary. He was 70 years of age in 1776, an unusual age for a revolutionary. One doesn't usually think of men that old risking everything. He already had an international reputation, which none of the other revolutionaries had, and everything to lose, and what could he have gained? But he throws himself into it with the passion, his anger at the British government for humiliating him in 1774 led him to his patriot enthusiasm.
At the same time, the rift between the old revolutionary and his loyalist son, William, continued to deepen.
Franklin and his son, the governor, spent a whole night discussing the prospects of the revolution and emptying many bottles of Madeira in the process. It was Franklin's favorite drink. Franklin could not change his son's loyalty to England. The crown had given him respectability, and the son said that he would not espouse the revolution, that he was a servant of England, and thus he would remain. After this, the two men did not talk anymore until after the revolution.
As governor of New Jersey, William Franklin became a loyalist leader. His revolutionary father became a member of a select five-man committee responsible for drafting one of the most significant documents ever written.
The Declaration of Independence is, without doubt, the most important document in the Revolution and perhaps in American history, because it sets forth the ideals under which the United States lives. It's the one thing that holds us together, the belief in that all men are created equal. Now, of course, all persons are created equal, and that all of us have certain inalienable rights. Those ideals, those aspirations, are the adhesive that hold us as a diverse people.
Many of the rebel leaders were reluctant to declare independence. In July of 1775, the American Congress even sent a conciliatory proposal directly to George III. John Adams dubbed it the Olive Branch Petition, but the English king refused to receive it and instead sent to America a belligerent proclamation.
Whereas many of our subjects in diverse parts of our colonies and plantations in North America, misled by dangerous and ill-designing men, and forgetting the allegiance which they owe to the power that has protected and supported them, have at length proceeded to open and avow rebellion. We do accordingly strictly charge and command our officers, and all others our obedient and loyal subjects, to use their utmost endeavors to withstand and suppress such rebellion. George III, August the 23rd, 1775.
The king was convinced, as most of his subjects were, that it was essential to retain control of the American colonies. And he proceeded to the bitter end to believe that, and bitterly opposed even the making of peace at the end. Indeed, there's a domino theory. If you let America go, everything else will fall. Canada will fall, the West Indian colonies will fall, and so on.
Thomas Paine was an Englishman who had come to America through the sponsorship of Benjamin Franklin. Early in 1776, he wrote an enormously successful piece of propaganda called Common Sense, the first major public call for independence. In months, the 47-page pamphlet had sold 100,000 copies.
O ye that love mankind, ye that oppose not only the tyranny, but the tyrant, stand forth. Every spot on the world is overrun with oppression. Freedom has been hunted round the globe. Oh, receive the fugitive and prepare in time an asylum for mankind. Thomas Paine, 1776.
Forward-thinking Abigail Adams saw in the climate of change a rare opportunity for her own sex.
I long to hear that you have declared an independency. And by the way, in the new code of laws, which I suppose it'll be necessary for you to make, I desire you would remember the ladies and be more generous and favorable to them than your ancestors. Do not put such unlimited power into the hands of the husbands. Remember, all men would be tyrants if they could be. If particular care and attention is not paid to the ladies, we are determined to foment a rebellion and will not hold ourselves bound by any laws in which we have no voice. Abigail Adams, letter to John Adams, March 31st, 1776.
Finally, the Congress created a committee to put America's demands for independence into writing. A 33-year-old Virginian, Thomas Jefferson, accepted the task of authorship. In Williamsburg, weeks before his new assignment, Jefferson had written the preamble to Virginia's Constitution. He would use it to guide him in his current task. He rented the upstairs flat of this house in Philadelphia to do his work, and in the parlor, at a small desk, he wrote the Declaration of Independence.
It was intended to be an expression of the American mind, and to give to that expression the proper